Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Sarcastic Barman and welcome to my channel. We're returning with part 2 of Whacker Creationist. I fucking love that name, it's quite funny. Better than Whack an Atheist anyway. But yeah, we left Kent Hovind rabbiting on about how long would it take a car to turn into a plane on a production cycle, which we addressed and then compared it to a real life squirrel to bats. So yeah, we'll just crack straight back on with it, shall we?
And selecting the bad ones to not survive and breed is not going to create anything new. Survival of the fittest does not explain the arrival of the fittest.
That's right, and nobody apart from you seems to be stuck on this fact that natural selection doesn't provide these traits to start with. These traits could have arisen through mutations, and yes, some are beneficial, some are not. If they're not beneficial, but at the same time not causing a hindrance, they may persist. I don't see how this is a difficult concept for you, and if we're going to keep going on about it, it's just going to get like the magic roundabout, going round and round and round and round and round. Yeah, let's not do that, please.
And by the way, survival of the fittest is what they call a tautology, a sentence that means nothing. If you say, well, why did it survive? Well, because it's the fittest. Well, how do you know it's the fittest? Because it survived. Oh, I see. Is that how this works? Okay. See, it's not survival of the fittest. When a whale goes through a school of fish and eats 80% of them, it's actually survival of the luckiest.
Now, saying the fish were just lucky is a very broad, very ignorant term. Yes, you can just happily on an everyday occasion say they're lucky. If you're breaking it down to talk about evolution and survival of the fittest, then you've got to look at more contributing factors. Could those fish have been faster? Could they have been more manoeuvrable in the water so they could move out the way better? Could they have had better senses? So whether that be eyesight or scales that can pick up the vibrations in the water more, to know that a whale was approaching so they could move out the way and scatter better. If you're going to talk about natural selection, you've got to break it down properly and address these factors. Saying lucky is just being ignorant, but at this point I'm not expecting any more from you.
One day, a brilliant scientist did an experiment with a frog to determine how far it could jump. They measured the distance it jumped and then, one by one, removed its legs to measure the difference it made.
Yeah, we all know this story. It was something we used in school to show how correlation doesn't mean causation. Something that most scientists and most everyday people are quite familiar with, really. And it wasn't a brilliant scientist, it was a mad scientist. Get the story right. Nobody in their right mind would think chopping off legs on a frog would provide any sort of benefit to the jumping, or that the 4 legs being removed would then cause the frog to go deaf. These are stupid analogies you're using, and I can see the trend just continuing here over and over and over. Oh dear, skip forward a bit.
Bad conclusion. Okay. We see natural selection, and it only selects, and you conclude from that an amoeba turned into a pine tree and a whale. Dave, pay attention. Natural selection is not going to create anything.
Wow, just no. Nobody is saying, once again, that natural selection causes the traits. Natural selection is the process by which these traits are either removed, left alone, or encouraged to flourish within the community due to pressure from the natural environment. This isn't a difficult concept. It really isn't.
That's evolution by natural selection. Speciation, or the production of new biological species, is also an observable fact.
Well, now you can believe that if you'd like. Let me get to the right one here. Well, now hold on a minute. Let's just look at a few of those. He's saying this is evidence for evolution, didn't he?
He did, yes, and we cut out a bit of crap of you going back and forth for a little minute, but yeah, let's see how your misunderstanding goes with this.
Evolution is a fact because speciation happens. Okay, well, let's see. The first one he has is the evening primrose up there on his list. Let's see what that is. That is a genus of about 145 species of herbaceous flowering plants. It's a flowering plant. And after years of evolution, they still have a flowering plant.
And your point being what? We're going to stop before you even get it. We're going to take guesses. Do you think it should have evolved into what? A mouse, a cat, a plane, a trampoline? Because let's be fair, with you it could be anything. There's no end goal for evolution. The basic principle is you either adapt with your natural environment to best suit it, or you die. They are the basic keys of evolution. So, yeah, what rubbish are you going to spout?
That's all they get. Now, somebody might have worked, a lot of gardeners work hard to make new varieties of plants, and primrose is one of them they work with to try to say, let's see if we can develop a new fancy one and get the prize at the plant show, or whatever they call the thing, every year. And somebody may develop a new plant. He may select a particular trait out of a primrose that he likes. This one has bigger leaves or bigger flowers or something, and they selectively breed for that, and sure enough, they get what they consider a new species. It's still a flower. It's still a plant that is not going to make an amoeba turn to a whale or a pine tree or a human.
Wow, you really do like sticking to your rhetorics, don't you? Of just repeating the same thing over and over again. It's not turned into a monkey or an elephant or anything. No, we wouldn't expect a plant to turn into any of those things. That would happen far further back on the evolutionary trail. Jesus. And I'm guessing Professor Dave picked the evening primrose due to its importance done in a study between sexual and asexual reproduction and the passing on of mutations through genes and the reproductive process. But I'm expecting you did no reading into that at all, Ken, and you're just going to stick to the normal sort of crap.
So he says on his list, well, we got the Kew primrose. Well, let's just see. What is that? Looks good on the list, doesn't it, Dave? It's a bunch of flowers again. And after selective breeding for hundreds of years, the botanists have developed flowers from the flowers.
Wow, just please. Now, you understand there will be a reason Professor Dave picked this plant. All you've got to do is get some of your people to go and either research it for you and tell you, or research it yourself. And then you'd be prepared for what's going to happen now. Me calling you out on sounding like an idiot for not understanding there's a reason Professor Dave picked it. And that's because the Kew primrose will not interbreed with other primroses. Yes, it started as a hybrid in 1899 thereabouts, and originally we couldn't produce plants from that plant. They had to cross more plants. But eventually we got to the stage where the plants started flowering themselves and producing seeds, nectar and everything like that, and were pollinating. Great. But we found that these primroses would not interbreed with other primroses. It's its own species. This isn't a difficult concept now, is it? No, but maybe you should do some research and be prepared for things. Please. You just sound like an idiot.
I would say anybody with one eye and half a brain would say it's still the same kind of plant. It's a flowering plant.
So is it your left eye or right eye that doesn't work?
Then he has up here Tragopogon, whatever that is. So I had to look that one up, okay? That is the yellow salsify. Have you ever heard of this one? Yellow? We need to grow some of them here. It's a species of salsify native to southern, looks like a dandelion, native to southern and central Europe and western Asia, and found as far north and west as northern France. Oh, très bien, monsieur. Although it's been reported from other places in India, etc. So you're saying, Dave, are you saying that this is evidence for evolution because of this big fancy name here? It's a flower, Dave, okay?
It's too early to drink. This isn't fair. So you've looked up the plant. Well done, you've actually done some research. But then you've missed the big article about rapid chromosome evolution and within the plants and synthetic hybrids that have been made from the plants. I mean, it's a good size article, link obviously in the description below, same as last week. But yeah, your research standard sucks. It really does. You've looked up, it's a plant. I'm just going to say it's a plant. No, you just sound like a moron at this point. You're just repeating the same rhetoric and not understanding the significance of what you've talked about or the plant species that have been looked into. Oh, dear me.
And then he lists another one, Raphanobrassica. Well, what is that? Raphanobrassica is any intergeneric hybrid between two other plants. So they can take two plants, crossbreed them, and get a hybrid.
Cabbage and a radish.
It's still a plant. That's not evolution, Dave. Stop lying to the kids and deceiving them to think that's evidence for evolution. It's not. We'll skip some other ones, and we could go all day on this one.
Don't skip the hemp.
No one is saying the plant is going to evolve into a monkey or anything like that. But it can evolve into different types of plant. What happens if the hybrid from the two plants that were previously talked about started having a firmer stem that eventually became a wooden stem over generations and things like that? That is then a tree. Is that still the flower you were on about before? You've done no research into these points. I'm hoping, as you've skipped some, the ones you've picked next, if you give the same sort of rhetoric, I'm just going to scream. And I decided it wasn't too early to drink.
He has Drosophila. Drosophila is a fly. It's a common fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster. It's a species of fly in the family Drosophila. The species is generally known as the common fruit fly or vinegar fly. So hold it.
Now, no skipping forward has been done. We're going to be fair. The common fruit fly, yes. So one of the most studied insects for evolution because of its very short life cycle and how you can get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of generations in a short period of time. So we can study effects of changing its natural environment, exposing it to different radiation and lights and things like that, and seeing what happens. Something very important, and how we've discovered new branches of fly from it. And I'm waiting for your rubbish if it's still a fly.
You're saying, Dave, you have this listed up here on your page as one of the evidences for evolution. What on earth did they do with the fly? Did I have a number? No number on that one. Hang on. All right. Here, okay. So they started with a fly, they ended up with a fly.
You okay, Vegeta? Yes, just an aneurysm out of sheer stupidity. Wow, didn't think you were that stupid, Vegeta.
Chlorella vulgaris. And this is evidence for evolution. Well, I said, no, what is this? Why would this be evidence for evolution? Let's see. It is a green microalgae primarily used as a dietary supplement to protein-rich food additive in Japan. Vulgaris. The 3 selected chlorella species were cultivated using previously reported growth methods in separate photoautotrophic and heterotrophic batches. So the Japanese worked really hard to develop a special kind of plant that grows faster and they can add more to their diet. They started off with a chlorella, they ended up with a chlorella.
You're so stupid!
No. Do some proper research, for God's sake. Remember the article I mentioned last week about algae forming into multicellular life colonies and stuff like that? There was a previous experiment done that involved that algae, and guess what? That formed into multicellular colonies as well. It's a joke. You're an absolute joke. Do some research. All you've done so far is dig a big hole, sit in it and go, no, 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 nothing's real, as the real world passes you by overhead. Ugh.
Why would you have that listed as evidence for evolution? It's still the same kind of creature.
Good God, man, if you did any research into this, you'd know why. Oh, it's round and round in circles, isn't it? Round and round.
See, but what he did, when the average kid listens to Dave speak and he sees this list of big names, he's going to say, oh, wow, Professor Dave, wow, you're so smart. Yeah, evolution must be true because Professor Dave believes it.
Nope, but anyone who's half inquisitive and is not completely in denial will go and look these names up properly on the basis of looking for scientific papers, looking for the word evolution in them, looking for a study found, rather than just, this is what it is, it's a plant,
This is how it's done, folks. And the average kid coming fresh out of high school to some college professor like this is going to swallow it hook, line, and sinker.
No. Any high school kid coming into college for the first time who wants to speak to a professor about evolution and things like that, rather than swan it hook, line and sinker, will probably be told, yeah, you need to go and read this textbook, go and look at these papers, and we'll take the evidence from that. Now, Professor Dave isn't trying to brainwash anyone by hiding evidence and denying evidence. That's what you're doing. You're like, the geological column's not real. carbon dating doesn't work. I can't walk and scratch my bum at the same time. You are an absolute joke when it comes to this, but it's at least a subject I enjoy looking at. So we're going to keep looking at it and keep pointing out where you fail completely and utterly.
We have observed the emergence of new species of microorganisms, plants, and animals. We know so much about it that we have terminology to describe the different kinds of speciation that can occur. If you understand biochemistry,
You have special terminology to describe the kinds of speciation. Well, let's look at this. Dave, you started off with an original population, and there's a barrier got between them, like the Kaibab squirrel and the Abert squirrel, and now they have two different varieties of squirrels on opposite sides of Grand Canyon. So this is the type of barrier speciation. They're considering the Abert squirrel and the Kaibab squirrel different species. They're still, Dave, pay attention, pay attention. They're still a squirrel. Squirrel.
Wow, you are a condescending little prick. You really are. Now, you're going on about speciation. Yes. You've agreed that there's a barrier species, that something's come in between them, the two populations are diverged, and natural selection has taken place where these species may no longer be able to breed. I haven't looked into the squirrels, and I'm not going to because I'm too fumingly annoyed at how much of a condescending little prick you're being. Did you bother looking into it? Can these squirrels interbreed with each other at the other end of the Grand Canyon, or if they were put into a zoo together? That's your big thing. If they can't, they are separate species. Yes, they're still squirrels, but it shows that over a few thousand years, these species cannot interbreed. They've separated enough that this isn't possible. What would happen in a few more thousand years? What would happen in 10,000 years, 20, 100, a million goddamn years? This is why you have such a difficult time grasping evolution, because you're stuck in the idea that the world is only 6,000 years old, rather than several billion. And when someone provides evidence that it's not several thousand years old, you're like, no, look at this one. Yeah, it's a tree standing up in like several layers of rock. Yeah, it can't do that over time, fossilization and stuff like that. No, it was a swampy area. Yes, it can. No. Isocon dating that bloody conspiracy cats brought up. You're like, no, I'm not prepared for that. You weren't prepared for anything in his debate. Jesus. You are a joke. I'm looking forward to part 3 because there's no way you can get any stupider, but I think it's going to be hell of a funny to find out how stupid you get on it. Oh, we're going to end that one there. I've been the Sarcastic Bomb, and I hope you've enjoyed part 2 of this absolute train wreck of a response. By the look of the video, there'll probably be a 4th parter for this video, and then he's got another 40-minute video for Professor Dave. If you want me to have a look at that one as well, please let me know at the end of the 4, and we'll see if we can stand to have more Kent. Because, wow. Just wow. Good night, everyone, and thank you very much. Hey, crazy Russian man. Do you love clothes?
Ah! Yuri does like clothes!
Awesome. And do you love the barman in a way that's just like, yeah, he's really cool, I wish I was as cool as him?
Ah, the barman, he is the best. You do realize barman has lots of vodka.
Well, now you can have clothes with a barman's face on. Check the link down below for my Teespring.
Oh, awesome! Now Yuri can look good and stay warm while he drunk and burst out in garage. Yay!